What up, what up, what up, what up? Thank you so much to my new subscribers that have decided to come through. Welcome back to my old subscribers. So I have some new content now. I'm getting love and relationship advice from a man's perspective. Today I will be interviewing my boy, Fat Boy Diz. He's going to drop his IG and his podcast information at the end of the interview so you guys can check it out. I hope you like what you see. Leave me a comment. Also, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Peace. But it's interesting though, because I always had questions in regards to how you would move or would you move differently in a new relationship after your marriage.
I mean, yeah, because you're gonna take like bullshit with you. Are we this like the talk right here?
Yeah.
All right. I ain't know about how's it, but yeah. So you're gonna take stuff with you,
Right.
because when you break up in a marriage, it's mostly for some negative shit. Like nobody breaks up because they was happy, right?
Right.
So yeah, you gonna move different, especially if you hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to feel that shit again.
Right. And I guess my biggest question would be, how did you not let the hurt from your failed marriage make you treat any future relationships different? Like, was it hard for you to trust females based on what happened in your marriage, or it was pretty much you was trusting them until they gave you a reason not to trust them?
Nah, I still don't. I love my girl, and I still got some trust issues or whatever. So you don't have to treat nobody bad or nothing just because somebody treated you bad, right?
True.
And because I'm not that type of person, I've never been that type of person. So I'm not gonna treat no female bad because she did something to me, right? But if I see behavior, or like I'm in a relationship now, but when I see behavior that's reminiscent of that other shit, then I'm like, I don't know, I'll be skeptical. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's a red flag.
Right. You know, and then sometimes it might not be nothing, but it make you look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially from the shit that hurt you. You know what I mean? Versus where you be like, oh, that really wasn't nothing. You probably could walk around it before.
Right. And I definitely agree when you see a red flag, you see something that, hurt you in the past, that it makes you question everything around you. And it may be all in your head, to be quite honest. It may not even be that person. It's just that hurt is still there.
You know what? I don't believe in all in your head, because
For real?
Nah, because the computer, the most powerful computer on this earth is the human brain, right?
Right.
And so all intuition is your mind noticing something that ain't right. Now, just because here's what the disconnect is. Like, all right, so cool. You notice something that ain't right, but then if you have good communication and you and your significant other can talk about it, then it might not be as deep as what you think it is. It might,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you peep something, your brain telling you, something ain't right. You feel me?
True.
That ain't magic or no shit like that or nothing. But I pay attention. If you feel it in your soul, something ain't right. There's something ain't right. It's some part of that.
Even
right.
if you can't put your finger on it, and because I've gotten the intuition. I've gotten that intuition before that I don't know what it is, but my body is telling me, don't trust that shit. It ain't right. But I just can't put my finger on it, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm tripping. But I'm getting this feeling at the same time every time. If it's the person, the situation, I don't care what it is. If I'm getting that feeling, I'm like, sometimes I be feeling like I'm tripping. Like, nah, yo, you just tripping. But to me, when I feel it, it gets so uncomfortable that I gotta remove myself from the situation, because I feel like my body is trying to tell me something, and I can't. Even though I can't put my finger on it, it's something that ain't right.
If you had perfect recall, like if you was a video camera, you could probably go back and point out where shit ain't right. But we ain't got it like that. But but your brain know that shit. That's part of, I don't know, creation, evolution. But it's like, that's a way to protect yourself from trauma and shit. You know what I'm saying? You remember shit.
So how how is the communication between you and your current girlfriend? Like, I know for females, I've talked to females where they say the guy that they may be currently with doesn't understand what they went through with the previous person. It could have been something like abuse, like physical or mental abuse, where when certain things, like if they have a misunderstanding in a relationship, that guy doesn't know how to communicate with her on what she's feeling because she may shut down. So when stuff like that pops up in your relationship, is she willing to like try to figure out what it is, like communicate with you to find out what it is that's making you feel the way you feel, or do you just close it off and don't really speak to her about it? Or would you say that the communication with y'all is at a point where, if you're feeling something, you and her can have a sit down conversation and, get through whatever it is that you're feeling? Like one of them red flags you might feel like you're feeling.
So that's funny because, and I say it on social media a lot. Like for me, the two biggest deal breakers for me for being with any woman is we gotta have mutual respect. We gotta have mutual respect in our communication. We gotta communicate well. But communication and respect to me is the two biggest things. That if my woman wasn't able to do that for me, then I wouldn't deal with her.
Right.
So because we are of a similar mindset, right? Then not the communication ain't a problem. The only thing that is sometimes I think we both come off a little bit blunt.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can be honest, but sometimes motherfucker be too fucking honest. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, yeah, your delivery's messed up.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? So that's a problem. That's something that we got to get around. But I've just been blessed to find somebody that I can communicate with well. And I think that if you can't, if communication is a big deal to you in a relationship, and you find somebody that ain't communicating well, then what's the point in dealing with them? You know what I mean?
I agree, because there will always be miscommunications in a relationship if the other person can't communicate. Especially if you are a communicator and the other person isn't, you're gonna forever have issues.
And see, a lot of people think communication is just both of us talking and pouring out our feelings.
Right.
But the second part of the pouring out of the feelings and the talking is the listening and understanding what that person is saying.
Right.
So if me and you just talking and you like, yo, I get mad when you do this, and I say, well, I get mad when you do that. Well, all we did was tell each other what we get mad about. We haven't. If we don't receive it, then what the fuck is the point?
Right. You know what I'm saying? And I've always stood by this quote that I've always read. It's like the quote is something to the fact, it says we listen to respond and not to understand.
Right.
And in a lot of relationships, that's what happens. People don't listen to try to understand and find a solution to the problem. They're just waiting for you to say what you gotta say so they can respond and say something like, well, you do the same thing too. How is that helping us get to a place where we're on the same pace and we can resolve this issue? Because if you're just saying something like that, that's not helping at all. We're going to continue to have this same issue until we can both sit and understand that there's an issue that we both need to work on, and not just say, oh, well, you do the same thing too. No, it's not going to work.
Right. And a lot of motherfuckers, they always take the it's me against you approach, but really it should be us against this problem.
Right.
And if you look at it from, like, that's one of the things I've been trying to do lately is like, all right, it ain't that me and her got an issue with each other. We have an issue with something that we need to work through.
Right.
And if especially a lot of times it's some shit that I done did or whatever, I done set out my mouth. So then I gotta listen to her and understand where the fuck she coming from,
right,
so that we get past it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Basically, how what you did or said impacted her, right, and how not to have this same situation happen again.
Right, exactly.
So
a lot of motherfuckers too selfish, man. I think that's what I be thinking. Like, that's all they really care about is what this other motherfucker can do for them.
Right. You know what I mean? And I was having a conversation with a female friend of mine earlier, and a couple of things that we was discussing. I was like, I'm gonna use that in my interview tonight. And one of the things she talked about was religion, because she said that for her, religion is a big thing in her relationships, because she has to be equally yoked. So if the person that she's dealing with isn't a believer like she is, that the relationship can never work. I know you were brought up in the church, and I know you still. I know how your religion is. You believe in God and things like that. Is that an important aspect for you for a companion? Do they have to be on this? Y'all have to have the same religion or the same belief?
So, yes and no. I mean, it is very important, but I wouldn't put it. I wouldn't make it a deal breaker necessarily. Then there's some shit that people be believing that I just can't get with, right?
Right.
And then what happens with that is a domino effect. How we gonna raise our kids and shit like that, right? You know what I mean? But for me and her, you know, we were fortunate to both be brought up in church, and have similar beliefs and shit. Yo, look at Hassan and their mother and father and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a Muslim and a Christian.
That is true. That is true.
That shit trips me out. So it can work.
It can work.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we all gotta look at, well, what, like your homegirl. If that's a deal breaker for her, then she gotta stick to her deal breakers. Don't. You know, I hope she listening and watching the video, shorty. Don't get with a dude just because he look good, whatever, but he don't subscribe to your beliefs because it ain't gonna work. Because then you'll have conflict down the road and shit. I mean, I look at it like that. Like, but for me personally, if I found the right one and she wasn't necessarily subscribing to the way I worship, it all depends. As long as we could be respectful, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Because to me, that's not a deal breaker either. I feel like, well, to be honest, right now, I'm like in between. And because, you know, I was all high on spirituality and things like that. But recently, I feel like I'm caught up in the middle. Because it's like, you ever felt like you're being called back to something that you tried to get rid of? Like
some coochie.
No, so listen. So let's just say I disown the idea that there's a white man in the sky saying that this is how we're supposed to live our life. You feel me? And a couple years ago, something caught my eye, and I started questioning some things, and it led me to a path that was away from what I was brought up in. Because, you know, I was brought up in church with BB as well. But now it's like I'm missing something, and I feel like that's what I'm missing. Because there have been some unexplained things that I've seen happen, and I can't explain how it happened. And I can say that it happened because the man in the sky did it. Doesn't necessarily mean that I agree that there's a white man up there. You know, we don't know what he looks like.
Right.
But I feel like that part of me is calling me back to identify with what knowledge that I had that might have been misleading. You know how people say stuff like, well, science has confirmed that the Bible isn't real and stuff like that. You know, those, I'm not gonna call them idiots, but I just feel like science can't prove everything. You know what I mean? So, and the place where I am right now, I'm trying to figure out how can, and people have done it, how can I still be spiritual but also still believe the religion that I believe in? And by talking to my female friend who was saying that, you know, religion is one of the things that she looked for, and when she's looking for a relationship or God, whatever, she was like, you know, what you're saying, Tasha, is fine. Like, I get that, but some people are just disrespectful to the fact that they will say they will say stuff, and it's so nasty and mean to what my religion is. How can I deal with a person that disrespects the religion that I love and expect to be in a relationship with me? And I was like, and that is true. I hear the stuff recently that I've been hearing about, you know, the coronavirus going around. The stuff that I've been hearing about non-believers say, to me, is disrespectful. Because although you don't believe in that religion, you don't have to be disrespectful to the people who do. Everybody believes what they want to believe, but let's just all be disrespectful. Like, yo, somebody really said that, because I follow Sean King, and he had put on his page that Spain had one of the deadliest days in deaths today. And somebody actually said, well, oh well, because the Spanish people in Spain had a lot to do with the slave trade. And I'm like, what does that have to do with present day though? So are you saying that the sins of the father have to revisit the son? They don't deserve that. Like when people say stuff like that, but then you want to deal with somebody. Let's say you find somebody who is Spanish, and you or from Spain, and you want to deal with them, but then you made a racist statement, not a racist, but a statement like that. You can't expect for them to love you, and you down in where they come from. So I can understand for some people why religion is a big deal. For me personally, I don't think it's a big deal because you can have your belief and I can have my belief. I'm not going. We can actually sit down and have a conversation, intellectual conversation about it. I'm not going down what you believe, and I know you won't down what I believe. But there are just some people out there that are like, oh no, if you believe in the Bible, then we just can't be together, which is crazy. So.
Right. See, so I look at religion and spirituality different, and then I look at there's different type of spirituality, right?
Not to stay woke people, the conscious people that think everything is, yeah. I'm not talking about them folk.
So like I think that there's different kinds of Christians though, right?
Okay.
And I don't have to religiously follow the Catholic Church, and I ain't got to drink wine off from the same cup as these people and let the priests do the smoke on me and all of that. I don't worship like that. You know what I mean? That's what religion is, just the way you worship it.
Right.
As far as like spirituality, you can believe that there's a creator, and if you're a Christian, you can believe that creator sent a piece of himself down to God for him to die on the cross and as a perfect sacrifice. Like, that's what you want to believe, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing something religiously. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I think that's what it is that people are so passionate about it, and they want to prove to you so motherfucking bad, or they want to convert you so bad. Like even the Hotep motherfuckers and everybody's about converting you. You know what I mean? Even if you don't have a God, that's your belief. You believe that there is no God, but you want to convert everybody you can.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, it's about respect. Like people don't respect each other. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Like I don't have to believe the same shit you believe in, but I can still respect you as a human being, person, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
All right, and you know, we can still have that respectful conversation, and maybe one day I will say, let me look deeper into this, you know. But yeah, like you were saying, it's crazy. But bringing up her son, Mr. Nate and his wife, that is a very good example. And it's crazy because some of the things that I be interested in, when Mr. Nate pull up, if I'm running away and he pull up and we be talking about it, it's crazy because his wife seems uninterested in any of it. But she just be looking or whatever. And I just ran into her and she was like, hey Tasha, Nate asked me to ask you, did you get those books that he told you to get? And I was like, I haven't gotten them yet, but I'm going to get them. And it's crazy how passionate he is about what he believes in. But every time me and him talking about it, it's like she has no interest. She doesn't say anything about anything. She just sits there. And I'm just like, I get it. I get it because she's definitely into the church. So, I mean, like you said, I get it. I feel like it could work too, but some people just have that, you know, that notion that if it ain't what it is, if it's not what I'm worshiping, then it can't work.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? But like, yeah, as far as just to bring it like full circle for the relationship shit, yeah, man, it's just, you gotta do what work for you, and you gotta set your deal breakers and never break them motherfuckers, and then and go from there. You know what I mean? Communicate and respect that person. And
I feel like every relationship that you have is not necessarily a failed relationship, but a lesson on what you will and won't accept in your next relationship. But one of the other questions I want to pose to you: how is being vulnerable affected you after the marriage? Has it been an issue?
Well, I'm not sure. Like how is? So you asked me. Oh, go ahead.
So I'm trying to figure out. So okay, so being so, I guess, being vulnerable with somebody is like giving them, showing them everything that nobody else sees of you, like
Okay.
your weaknesses, like, it's hard for men to cry. Like when you cry, like, I mean, like being able to sit with your girlfriend and cry over something that really hurts you, like showing that vulnerable part of you.
Okay.
Have you
So,
have you ever showed that part of you to anybody?
shit, I cried for my wife when we was, you know what I mean, when all that cheating and shit was going on. Like, bitch,
Okay.
what you do that for? You know what I mean? But no, like, so with her, like, we never got to that point, like that. But vulnerability don't necessarily have to just be crying or whatever. But it took me like a while to kind of drop my guard, and even it's only been a year officially. I still got a little bit of a guard up, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want nobody to use nothing against you.
True.
You feel me? Or because really, if you think about it, being with somebody a year, that really ain't. Even though I mean, I love Shorty and all that, like there's still a little bit of a facade for each of us that we putting up or whatever, right?
You think so?
I think, hey, I know so, man. You don't really. I think it take at least a year for you to start saying who this person really be for real. You know what I'm saying? So we still learning each other. But I think that I think I'll be at peak vulnerability when I'm ready to drop a ring. You know what I'm saying? But until then, I'm still going. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that's what I'm saying. If that
so that's a possibility. So the possibility of remarrying again is an option for you.
Yeah, I believe in marriage, yo. Actually, you know what's so crazy? My ex-wife, for all the bad shit I say about, especially on social media and all that, she's a real like cool, dope ass person, right? As far as like she was my friend. You know what I mean? We used to have good conversations, laugh, and all that. So I enjoyed the partnership of marriage, and I you know what I mean. Like at one point in my life, I liked going out trying to fuck everything, and now it's like I ain't really interested in going out dating no motherfucking body. I'm trying to have some kids. I want a little boy or something. So, like, I'm cool with the idea of being married and having this partnership and building some shit with somebody.
Right.
That's of a like mind and shit. Having these kids, grandbabies, and great grands, and dying together. You know what I mean? I'm good. I'm good with the thought of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I get married again. Hell yeah.
Because I asked that because I know men are different from women, and where a woman might be easier to say, well, yeah, in time I will. Most guys I know would say, yeah, I ain't getting married again. Not after she did me the way she did me. It would take a lot for them to recover from that failed marriage. Especially, that being the one you thought you was going to live your life out with, that was supposed to be your forever. And then your wife does something like cheat on you. So, and I mean, cheating with anybody, cheating is hard to come back from. And then rebuilding trust, no matter if it's in the relationship or that marriage that you're currently in or the next relationship. Because like you said, you're still going to be wondering. Your guard is not going to be 100% down because you still have that little bit of trust issue because of what happened before. And me wanting to talk to you, I'm like, shit. I'm like, they're going to give it to me straight up and down. You feel me? And I think it's good for people to hear from a guy's point of view, how to move after not just a failed relationship, but a failed marriage. That it's possible for you to, move forward from that hurt. Of course, it's going to take you a little bit of time to heal, but you're able to put your guard down enough to let someone else in, to be able to love again.
Right. And with a lot of people need counseling, like real shit, I'm thinking about going for real. I be lazy. But that's really, that's on like, niggas be women to be needing counseling, like motherfuckers be so hurt and carry that shit for the rest of their life. And I get it, be cautious, but you don't gotta be out here being hurt. And a lot of these niggas is hurt, and that's people. Let me not see niggas. A lot of people is hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why they carrying it like how they carrying it and shit, man.
And you know what? And the hurt doesn't even come from the relationship. The hurt comes from somewhere deep down, further along the line, like maybe a relationship with the mother and father that was broken and they carried it into their relationships. I actually started going to therapy because I wanted to get down to the nitty-gritty of some things within me, for those reasons that you were saying. I don't feel like I didn't feel like I could have a good relationship without digging into what was I felt like was going on. And when I tell you that first initial consult, when she dug deep into the background of it, I'm like, whew, like that's some stuff I didn't want to talk about, but she felt like it was relevant to get to the nitty gritty of things. But it just had me thinking about how fucked up some shit really was from my childhood, and how I carried it to my adulthood, and how I haven't dealt with it. Instead of me dealing with it, I'm just pushing that shit to the back of my head and moving forward with it. And she's like, well, if you want to heal from it, you gotta attack it head on. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if I want to. But then I had to understand that the longer I let it just be there, I can't be better for myself. But therapy, I definitely agree that people need therapy, because it opens your eyes to so much. And at one point, me and my girl was going to do couples therapy because we was having a real hard time in our relationship, and the communication wasn't great, and I just felt like we wasn't moving nowhere. And my therapist was like, well, why don't you do couples therapy and see how that works. And then I had another friend who actually decided, she was about to get married to her fiance, but they decided to go to couples therapy first. And she told me that they asked her a question. The question actually was based off of them. And she said that the therapist asked her, go back to a time in your relationship where things were great. Like y'all had no problems, y'all was on top of the world, y'all was like Bonnie and Clyde. Go back to that time, find out what year that was, and put down everything that was great about the relationship, and then put that up against what's wrong with the relationship now. And I was like, that's a good ass idea. And she was like, it was so crazy because it's like a whole different list of things from when we were good. She was like, but I also feel like we are two different people than what we were when things were great. I said, well, people grow. And one thing that my therapist told me is that you can't make another person grow on your terms. So just because, Tasha, you're growing, you're doing the self-love, the self-healing, and you're growing as a person, doesn't mean that your mate is going to grow at the same rate that you're growing. She may not be ready. And if you choose to push her into growing with you, then she's going to come back one day and say, I only did this for you. I didn't do this for me. And that's not what you want. And I was like, that's a good guy. That is what's up, because I understand that. Like, you can't make people grow, and you do have to let people grow at their own pace. But sometimes people just aren't willing to grow. So at that point, you just got to decide to stick with them and see where they're going to go, or let them walk and do your own thing. And sometimes I think it's hard because when you love somebody and you want to see the best for them, you don't always want to step away from them. But then she also told me that sometimes people fall in love with the how did she say it? With the idea of what a person can become, not what's sitting in front of you. And I agree with that too. You see this person and you say, damn, they could be such and such and such and such. They could be great at whatever they do, but they're not there yet. And you're pushing them to get to that point that they're not ready to go to. So, like I said, therapy has opened my eyes to a lot of things. I've been doing the work, and I'm more so trying to work on healing me and being the best that I can be in a relationship instead of trying to make my mate where I want them to be. Because at that point, it won't work. And I get that now. But like I said, I was definitely cool. I was like, man, when I seen that picture, I was like, oh, my man got a girl. I was like, oh. And like I said, yeah, it was a couple years ago when we had that conversation, but I can say I didn't see you getting serious with nobody because I just was like, man, my man hurt. Like, he about to be out here slutting these girls and he ain't about to be.
You know what? I never did. Like, I did all that shit when I was in my 20s and my teens. Yo. I never, like, after her. I mean, I'm not. You know what I mean? I did a little thing, but all of them was like serial monogamy and shit. Like that was just the girl I was dealing with at the time. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't out here like just really just smutting this shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah. So yeah. Nah, yo.
But yeah, like it's gonna be good for not just, like I said, not just females, because I was also one question before we leave, because this was a question I asked her. How do you feel about gender roles?
Gender roles?
Yes.
I believe there are gender roles. And that's how I feel. As the man, I'm supposed to take the trash out. As the man, I'm supposed to, you know, I'm from Mount Holly Street. I'm supposed to take the mouse out. I'm supposed to take the mouse out the mouse pad and shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just certain shit that a man is supposed to do.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that everything falls in a gender role. I mean, we can both make the money and decide what the money do, and we can both, you know what I mean, shit like that. Like, that's a partnership type of thing.
Right.
When it comes, when we in that partnership, I just do think that there's certain things that a man is supposed to do for his woman, and a woman is supposed to do certain things for his man, vice versa.
Okay, so as the man, do you feel like you're supposed to provide, like you're supposed to pay the rent, the BG&E, like all the big bills, and she's supposed to pretty much keep her money in her pocket, or do you feel like, you know, things should be 50-50?
I'm somewhere in between. Like, if I could, I would, right?
Okay.
And I could, but then we ain't gonna be living. Like, how well do you want to live? You know
and that's saying? My point. That is my point.
Let's combine our shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, wow. You know what I mean? So let's live well together. So I feel like I'm not a 50-50 per se. Like, if I make, let's say, together we make $100,000. I make 70. She make 30.
Right.
Well, really, let's think about take home pay. Let's say I bring home 100. We bring home 100 together.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fucking money. But I bring home 70 a year. She bring home 30 a year together, right? Mm-hmm. Then 70% of my check should go to the bills, and 30% should go to her bills.
Right.
I mean, go to the bills together. It's one pot, and that's how we do it. I mean, just proportionate. You know what I mean? So right. That's how I did it in my in my marriage and shit. And that's how I hope to do it if me and Shorty ever share bills.
I mean, I feel like that's a feasible way to do it. You know, like I hear some women say that the man should do everything, but then I feel like how well are you actually going to be living? You're going to be strapped for cash unless he working 2-3 jobs to make sure everything is taken care of. You know.
Well, look, you know, Aunt Cappy, she stay at home wife, and my ex is her name Tia. So Tia was like, well, I want to stay at home like Aunt Cappy. I said, that's fine. You do that exactly. But guess what? Aunt Cappy don't make no money. So
right.
Guess what? Aunt Cappy get a fucking allowance. And not to put my Aunt Bennett out there, nothing like that. And it's not really an allowance. But she can only get her money from her husband.
Right.
You want me to control the money and have to give you money?
Right.
So that's how it's going to be. Real
right.
Shit.
People don't understand that.
Right. So, but I mean, if we both making money, why the fuck shouldn't we combine our shit? We can do so much more than I can do by myself.
Absolutely.
So I know people, but I always think that you should do work for your relationship.
I agree.
You and your partner got to have the same ideas. Well, money, one of the things that fuck you up.
Right.
You break up over some fucking money, so y'all better have whatever you going to do, whether it's 50-50 or the man do 100 and she don't do nothing. You better decide that shit in the beginning. Y'all need to have that conversation on the third date.
Absolutely.
You feel me?
All right, yo, but I definitely appreciate you coming through. We finally getting this interview popping.
Right.
I'm gonna put it on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll let you know. I'm gonna go through and edit it and see what I need to take out or whatever. But
Can I shamelessly plug my shit?
of course, go ahead, do it.
Listen, this your boy Fat Boy Diz, aka Dizzy from B More. Diz de Giorno, the most finger waviest. It's not the Giorno, it's the penis. Johnny Cochran. If the glove don't fit, I will not hit. I'm not a normal nigga. I smoke cigars, I use rubbers, and sometimes I crash on other people's podcasts. You can find me on the Where's Buffy podcast, at Where's Buffy on everything. Fatboy_DIZZ on Instagram and Twitter. Holla at me.
And we out.